So we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the UK at the moment, especially with people putting up all the flags. Now, the flags predominantly are being put up by the English, and I want to talk about the English spirit. Yes, this is coming from someone who's actually half Welsh, half English. Got a little bit of German in me as well. So all the ethno-nationalists out there will be like, shut up, Tim, you ain't English anyway. And I want to talk about what it means to be British, because as we know, anyone can be British. It's quite important that we sort of have a think about this, because the only way we're going to survive this is not through politics. I've said this before. It's through community. It's through how we deliver ourselves into the rest of the world in which we inhabit. So I do talk about things. I'm not going to go into it now. Fitness, family, finance, fuel and faith. I don't go into it in every video, but if you look back in other videos, you'll hear me talk more about it. Now, if you're not in the UK, if you're not living here, say you're in America or something, I know America's noticed this, and the Australians, some of my students are Australian, some of my private clients all over the world have written to me and gone, Tim, what's going on in the UK, mate? It's actually pretty epic, because what's happened is, I say the English. The reason I say the English, because it leads with the English in this, because the population density of the UK is predominantly English. It's much, much bigger than Welsh, Scottish or the Irish, all right? So when we talk about the UK, I'm talking about Northern Ireland predominantly, of course. Southern Ireland's a bit different. When we talk about this, I'm pretty much saying that what's happening is being led by the English. Now, I've seen Scottish flags going up. I've seen Welsh flags going up. So we've seen all that happening, but predominantly the flag of St. George, which is the white with the red cross, is going up everywhere. And people are painting roundabouts, and anything white's getting painted. And I think it's very important that this continues. And I'll tell you why it's so good. It really puts the government, which we know is a big globalist cable, don't we? A treasonous government, if there ever was one. And I'll say the same thing for the Conservatives in the 14 years that preceded this Labour government. We know that they are in a very difficult place now, because, of course, when they take down the English flag, there's a reason they're taking down the English flag. And there's a reason they're going, oh, you can put the Union flag up, because they don't want England to exist. Because what having England exist actually means is that there's a culture, and they don't want that. They want the UK, the Y-O-O-K-A-Y, the UK. Everyone can be British. They'll happily take down those flags as well. But it's easier for them to fly the flag of the Union, because it means they haven't got to admit that England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland have their own culture. Now, I've just been around Southern Ireland on a motorcycle. Beautiful people. The way they look after their children is, well, you know, obviously we all do it here, but it's just very interesting, community orientated from what I saw. And that's Southern Ireland. I'm sure Northern Ireland must be the absolute same. And I will go on a bike around Northern Ireland pretty soon. There's some good people out there have asked me to come and see them. So Scotland, I lived in Scotland for 6 years when I was flying Tornadoes in the Royal Air Force. And in Wales, I lived in North Wales for 12 years. I've still got a house there. My father was born in South Wales, so in Neath, in the valleys, in Gleneath. So I'm familiar, very familiar. And I lived most of my life in England, of course. I'm familiar with the characters of each country. And the thing is, there is character. And with that character comes culture. That's fascinating. And with that culture comes community, of course. We all know that. And what the government doesn't, what the UK, remember, there isn't an English parliament, is there? There's just the Parliament of the UK, and then there's the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly and Northern Ireland. You know, so, but there isn't an English one. I've always found that quite interesting, and there never will be. There never will be allowed to be one. So we English don't really have a say in what happens in the UK, but we make up the majority of the population. So with these flags going up, what's happened basically? The English people have gone, right, you know what? You're gonna fly Palestinian flags around. You're going to allow these marches, hate marches is what they are. You're not going to take down these flags. All right, we'll put our own flags up. And it put the government in a really difficult position, because now the British government, not the English government, but the British government member, is having to take down English flags. I think it's brilliant. It's like outside the Epping Hotel in Essex when the women turned up and the children turned up wearing pink, and they just sat on the road singing Sweet Caroline. The optics of the police facing women and children in pink was mad, wasn't it? It was mad, and I loved it. It was brilliant. That's what I love about the I say British people, but it's a cumulative term when I talk about English, Welsh, Scottish, and Irish. I love it, and the thing I love about the English, talking as a half Welshman, which people always hate me for some reason. It's like, well, you can't talk about it, mate, because you're not English or you're not Welsh, and they get confused because they're academically not very clever. You know what I mean? They're like, you can't talk about the English if you're not English. Well, then what do I talk about? Because I'm half Welsh. But the great thing about the English, I do consider myself to be English, actually. the great thing about the English is they're so calm for so long. I say this, we are so calm for so long. And then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to put a flag up and smash you in the face, mate. And that level of brutality where you can poke an Englishman once or twice, then I'll stop it, stop it, stop it. And then they just kill you. It's not like another warning. It's just a death. I think that's pretty unique to this country. I don't think people have really seen that anywhere else. That level of, my name's going to kill you. I think the Welsh, the Scottish, Irish, I think as an island nation or a group of islands, that's very dominant here. And that's the problem with this whole globalist pushing an immigration narrative that has to be accepted. What it's saying is, it's talking about no borders, isn't it? It's saying, well, it's all right to talk about no borders when you talk about getting immigration into the UK. What about borders, Tim? Why do we need borders? But then when you talk about Palestine, they're like, it should be its own country. And they don't understand the hypocrisy of that. They want Palestine to be its own country, and they don't want Israel to be a country at all, by the way, it seems. But they don't want to say that England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, or Northern Ireland, should be their own countries either. They have to come under this banner of the UK, where anyone that comes in can get citizenship, because the Home Office is full of absolute traitors and Islamists, it seems. And then they can say, okay, so you can just be British, have a British passport, mate, and then you're in the UK. So we lose our identity. And I think what's happened is the English have gone, you know what? We are English, and you don't want us to be English. That's the more important thing. You don't want us to be English, because you know what that means. The Welsh are on board with this, but I know the Scottish and the Irish are as well. I speak to a lot of these people, and they all send their love, by the way, if you're an Englishman, putting flags up. Good on you, mate. Painting roundabouts, which we know is illegal, but no one cared, did they, when Palestinian flags were hung up on all the street furniture? No one cared about that. That was fine to hang up all those flags, which were basically anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist, whatever. I don't know, whatever you wanted. What's your latest thing now? What's your latest thing? What's your latest best thing? This refugee stuff, whatever it is. But when you put an English flag on a lamppost, the world goes mad. That's the beauty of doing so. That's why we should keep doing it. Americans understand this because Americans have real free speech. We don't have free speech in the UK. We have hate speech laws. You know how much against hate speech laws I am and have always been. I'd rather someone said, you know what? I want to go and kill get your favourite thing in there, whatever. You know what I mean? And then I can hear it and I can do something about it. When you don't have when you have hate speech laws, you never get to hear it. And of course, we wrap it up in protecting minority groups. But here's the problem with protecting minority groups. Who decides who is the minority group, mate? That's the issue I've got. Well, everyone can be a minority group now, can't they? Apart from the English or the Scottish or the Welsh or the Irish. You're not allowed to be a minority group, mate. No. This comes back to this liberalism that we have, this democracy that we have in the West, rabbit ears. Which means that, and it's kind of written into law pretty much. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that did this. I can't remember him. I remember David Starkey talking about him in particular, Tom someone, fill in the blank space below, guys, who was a lawyer, and he wrote this in human rights law into English law pretty much. And he said that if you are English or if you are British, he said, well, you're not a minority by definition. But if you're an immigrant coming in, then by definition you are, because you're a lower person, you're coming in, you're an outsider coming in, you must be a minority. Therefore, you have to have the benefits and you have to have the housing before the British people. We're going to skip the queue for you guys because you're a minority. And it goes mad because now what we're not doing is looking after our own people. And the countries, if you look at Poland and Hungary, how they've resisted the sort of EU, the European laws and the infiltration of migrants across their borders. If you think of, this is why I talk about fitness, family, finance, fuel and faith. If you think about the average man or woman over there in those two countries, which look amazing right now. When I was growing up, of course, Eastern Europe was rough as hell. And now it's an absolute, it puts our country to shame. If you think about the people that are in those countries, they are well, they're not all, of course, but let's just say who I picture them being. They're very proud, patriotic people that want to do best for their country, right? And everyone else coming in has to be second to that. But that's exactly the same as how the UAE operates, and good on them for operating like that, by the way. My brother works out there. They're saying we're a Muslim country. No Christian can be in charge where we are. We're a Muslim nation. And when you're here, you're a guest. And if you haven't got a job, by the way, we're going to ask you to leave because you don't want to be a burden on the state. Fair play to the UAE, Qatar, all these other nations for doing that. Why don't we do the same thing? It's because we're wrapped up in this, I hate to use the word left because it's too simple. You know what I mean? So if you've got a better way of, it's kind of socialist, isn't it? It's everyone has to have the same, and we have to be equal. That's what we're wrapped up in. No one wants to take accountability or consequence. I think that's another thing that, I can't keep this tape going, mate, because it's only, it's 10 minutes right now. Another thing I'm very interested in at the moment is consequence of action. The burden of responsibility that individuals like us have to accept and take, and it's only ever going to make us better. The being uncomfortable, wrong. The being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I do a lot of private tuition on this, guys, with business leaders, airline mates, a lot of airline mates for some reason, but people that, people are trying to level up exec level. And one of the things we talk a lot about, and we do a lot of work on, is anxiety, is the inability to feel right in your place, is the am I good enough? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, and one of the things we say is you've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. When we do this, when we try and change the country back into a way that it was and we appreciate it, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're never going to get the revolution you want. You're going to get the revolution you need. The uncomfortable people are going to be the Tommy Robinsons who aren't perfect. And they're dicks. Sometimes they're dicks, right? Of course they're dicks. I'm a dick sometimes, right? I'm sure you're a dick as well. So these people that stand up and say things, they're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but are they going in the right direction? Is the car going on the right motorway, and can we jump on it for a bit? That's what I'm talking about. Let's forget about politics. It doesn't work. If you vote in reform, I've talked about reform before. I've talked about how Farage will sit there and go, which way's the wind blowing, mate? That way. I'll give it a couple of days. It's definitely going that way. I'll jump on board that one. That's what Farage does. I've told you about this before. They're just another copy of the same. That they're not. Well, they're not. Okay, I'm trying to be very careful what I say here. And not because I'll get myself into trouble. I don't care about that. I don't want to put down people that support reform. We're all very excited about reform in the early days. But even Rupert Lowe's party, it's not even a party, is it? Is it Advance? Even that's not the answer. None of it is an answer. It's all going to be a copy and print of the next big thing coming in. What is the answer is community, and that starts with self. If we build our millions of selves and we put them all together, nothing can break that, mate. And that's what we're seeing by putting the flags up, and that's what we're seeing by painting the roundabouts. That's what we're seeing by people going out and saying this is not good enough for me anymore. I'm an Englishman, I'm a Welshman, I'm a Scotsman, I'm an Irishman, and my community comes first before anything else. And that's what we're seeing. That's what's important. And it's not good enough for us to be having habits that stop us doing that. You know what I mean? If you're rocking up to work drunk up every day, what are you doing, mate? Who are you? Who are you representing? And I'm saying that from a position where I did that for 20 years, more than 20 years. I rocked up to work drunk every day. Oh, okay, hungover. You know what I mean? And I haven't drunk for 2.5 years because I want to be a better person. So when people look at me, they're looking at someone who's willing to be a stand-up guy within their community. And it's not easy, mate. If it was easy, if it was fucking easy, we'll be doing it, wouldn't we? You know what I mean? But we're not doing it because it's hard. It's bloody hard, but what do you want? Because you're going to get the society that you walk by. The standards that you fail to set are the standards you're going to have to accept. The people nicking stuff from Greggs or whatever. Oh, it's all right, Greggs has got loads of money. Until they shut down, mate, and now you can't get your sausage roll and tea, whatever. You know what I mean? That's the problem. We've got to be better people. And that means we've got to turn our backs on the politicians. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. Forget about it. Put the flags up. Saturate the country in your flags. That's what I'm talking about. Not the flag of the Union. It's got to be the English flag. It's got to be the Welsh flag, the Scottish flag. It's got to, you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? It's got to be that because the government hates that. The government will accept the flag of the Union up everywhere because they've got it, haven't they? Where they stand in front of them going, oh, yes, we are from the UK. Yeah, but they won't stand in front of an English flag. When was the last time you saw a politician stand in front of an English flag, mate? Tell me now in the comments. Go. You can't post pictures, can you, on YouTube? But you know what I mean? That's why you've got to put the English flag up. That's why you've got to stand by it. And they hate it. They hate it. They absolutely hate the English flag. They associate it with crusades. And if you don't think we're in a crusade now, which is either the 8th, 9th or 10th, depending on how you work it, of course we are. This country is being invaded. We are being replaced. And I know the invasion and replacement theory concept is what will get this channel cancelled. But you tell me if that's not true. Go and look at the demographics of Leeds, Birmingham, London itself. Some of these cities, mates, I think London's 30% white British. Some of these cities are even less than that now. You know what I mean? I'll say the ethnic white British because, of course, we were historically a white nation up until about 1950. Overwhelmingly, 99.9%. We're not now in these cities. If that's not being replaced, tell me what it is. Keep putting the flags up. And keep looking after those vulnerable people within your society as well. I really mean that. Look out for those people that can't do things themselves. Really, that's the mark of a good man, by the way, is helping out people less fortunate themselves. So keep trying to do that. And guys, just got to work on that fitness. And I hate it too. I hate it as well. especially as winter's coming. It's going to suck bigly. We know it is, all right? But it helps us, doesn't it? It helps us stand up in the morning and do things for the family when we're feeling rubbish. I wish you all the best. It's difficult times are coming. I'm talking about it. It's hard. Hey, I appreciate it anyway, guys. You know, keep it up, though. More flags.